Dane County has a new resource for older adults and people with disabilities. And it has a new task force looking at climate change. And we'll talk about both this morning on For the Record. Good morning, I'm Neil Heinen. A couple of weeks ago, Dane County Executive Joe Parisi pulled together a team of folks to both help Dane County prepare for expected new severe weather events, as well as analyze how county government was doing managing its own carbon footprint. Parisi will talk about that effort a little later, but first, the county exec and I are joined by Jennifer Fisher, the executive director of the new Aging and Disability Resource Center of Dane County, which had its formal open house a couple of weeks ago and is now officially open for business. And thank you both very much for joining me. I don't know who to direct this to first, but just to help us understand, what is this new agency, or Aging and Disability Resource Center, and how does it differ from the resources that were being provided?
Well, I could give us a 30,000-foot overview,
right.
And perhaps Jennifer could fill in some of her day-to-day activities that she's undertaking at the center. As you know, Dane County has an incredible array of services for older adults and for people with developmental disabilities and other disabilities throughout the county. We put a high priority on that safety net. One of the challenges people sometimes face is A, even knowing that the services exist, and B, trying to piece together all the different services. You know, who do I call first to ask for help? We're very fortunate that we've been able to work out an arrangement with the state to create the Aging and Disability Resource Center, or ADRC. The state is going to fully fund this. It's going to be a $4 million a year project. It's going to employ about 40 people in Dane County. And what it will do is it will create a one-stop shop for people who have questions about services that exist. So they no longer have to try to track these down or do research. Just write, call, email, stop by the ADRC, and the folks, Jennifer and the folks there, will help folks navigate the system and get connected to services that they have available to them.
In fact, this is not the first, right? There are other of these around the state, but are they all county-based? Is it?
They've all been in the past. A county had to be part of what's called family care, a state program.
Right.
And we don't have family care. We actually have something that we feel works much better in Dane County for providing services to folks with disabilities, et cetera. And so because we were not a family care county, we weren't eligible for an ADRC. But there was a change in the last state's budgets that allowed us to be able to work with the state to bring an ADRC here, fully state funded without any county tax levy attached to it. So it's been a great win-win for us.
So where is this, Jennifer, and what does it look like?
So the ADRC is located at 2865 North Sherman Avenue. So we're in the North Town Center. Yep. We're a beautifully newly remodeled facility. We've really worked at being warm and welcoming and accessible for people with disabilities. There's a big ADRC sign that people can find us really easily. We've worked at having our building totally handicap accessible, so when people come to visit us, we have rooms where people can meet individually, privately with an INA specialist, and things like our tables go up and down to accommodate people in wheelchairs, and we really want our facility to be welcoming for everyone.
Now, you've worked in this field before, so how is this different? What's new about this?
The beauty about the Aging and Disability Resource Center is that it really is a one-stop shop. So before, you had to know where you fell. Like, I have a physical disability, or I have a developmental disability, or I'm elderly, and you had to know where to call. And you may have called a number and been said, oh, you've called the wrong place. The beauty about the Aging and Disability Resource Center is that there's one place to call and one number to remember, and we'll never tell you that you've made the wrong call. And when you call us, you always get a live person. So you don't get put on hold, you don't get an answering machine. While we're open, someone's always going to answer the phone and talk to you. And the other really nice thing is that same person is going to be the person that answers your questions, or if you need a home visit, they're going to do a home visit with you. And they're also going to follow up with you to see if the information and assistance that we provided helped to meet your need, or if you needed something different, or you needed a little more advocacy. that same person, so that you're not transferred, so that we really make it a warm, welcoming, easy process for people contacting us.
So is it both a phone center and drop-in center, appointment center, all of the above?
Yeah, so people can call us. They can walk in anytime between 7:45 and 4:30 and meet with an information and assistance specialist without an appointment. They can just come in, or they can schedule an appointment. And even if you're a relative coming in from out of town and your loved one lives in Dane County and it may be a Saturday, we can arrange to meet you when it fits your needs to discuss the resources in Dane County.
I assume that there is a website, yes. Dane, ADRC.org. So even that would be sort of a new helpful source, that there's one site now where people can see the services that are being provided.
Yes, and on the website is also a link to search our database. So even if we're not open, if you're interested about resources, you can still go on our website and search our database. We have an email address that you can email us questions at any time, and we'll respond via email.
It just popped into my head, Joe, but my guess is this probably reflects some changing demographics in the county as well, that we have an aging population and more people with disabilities.
Sure, yeah, you're absolutely right. We're seeing more of both, and we're going to continue to see more of both as our county grows and as the demographics continue to change, particularly with seniors. And what's so nice about this specific service is that it's really an example of government at its best. I think the point that Jennifer made that was so important is that once you contact the ADRC, you have one person who will stick with you moving forward. We all know there's nothing more frustrating than A, calling and not getting a real person, or B, calling and getting someone, whether it be dealing with your phone bill or health care, you name it, who's been very helpful to you. Then you hang up the phone and think, ooh, I had one more question, and then you have to try to go through that phone tree and talk to someone else. But to pick the phone back up and say, hey, could I speak to Neil again for a minute? He was helping me out, I think is a great piece of the model here.
Good point. All right, we're going to talk about some of the specific services that are provided and who this is for when we come back right after this. I'm back with Dane County Executive Joe Parisi, and Joe and I are going to talk about climate change in the next segment, but we continue this segment with Jennifer Fisher, who is the Executive Director of the new Aging and Disability Resource Center of Dane County, which is located on Sherman Avenue. And Jennifer, who is this for, really? I mean, who's your clientele?
Really, the ADRC is for everyone. So we focus on providing information and assistance regarding elderly, aging issues, people with physical and developmental disabilities, but people can call us regarding a loved one, if they're a caregiver. Really, anyone can call us and ask us about aging and disability related issues, and we really want to talk to people to help them make good decisions. So this is not a program that you have to call and qualify for. When you call,
so income, none of that is
correct.
Relative.
So when you call us, we're not going to say, you know, what's your income? Do you fall in an income group? Define what your disability is. If you call us looking for assistance, we're going to provide that information and assistance. And we're also going to provide you options counseling to kind of help you work through what resources you're getting, and also how to make good choices with the resources that you may have. Because we know that there's wait lists for funding for long-term care programs. We want to talk to people about what resources you have, what assistance you're looking for, how much those cost, and how to make good choices with the resources that you have.
Yep. All these services are free, right?
Totally free.
Yep. And transportation, I mean, that's always an issue, but at this point, any people from anywhere in the county, if they want to come in, have to get themselves over to Sherman Avenue.
They can, but they can get the same services by giving a call, sending an email, writing a letter, limited home visits if someone needs
as many home visits as you need.
Okay, so interesting.
Yeah, so the message is, don't feel like you're inconveniencing the folks at the ADRC. They're so committed to what they're doing, and they love what they're doing. There's no such thing as a dumb question. They've done an amazing job, I have to say, of getting this thing up and running very quickly and functioning at a very high level. And they want to receive people's calls, so no one should be concerned that they're bothering someone by giving them a call. This is what we're here to do, and this is what we love to do.
There's a couple of things here that that I think are illustrative of the scope of services. I think people understand calling for help with Social Security or you know, health care, that kind of stuff. But looking for help with housekeeping, bathing, yard work, that kind of stuff, and then a high school transition team.
Yes.
Now that's not something that you would expect to see at a center like this.
Right. So at the ADRC, we're working with the local high schools to work with the children who are aging out of high school to see if they will qualify for services as adults, and if they don't, what kind of assistance is out there to help them be successful as an adult without the support of high school. So we're looking at, you know, multiple children through multiple schools, making kids successful, leaving the school system as adults, making sure that they get set up to receive benefits as an adult. If they qualify for those benefits, to get on wait lists for programs, and if they don't qualify for a program that they did as a child, what's out there to help them still become successful?
This this feels like yet another piece in what we've known for a long time, Joe, which is most people want to stay as independent as they can in their own homes, and this is another vehicle to do that.
And the example of someone with a disability aging out of high school and entering that next stage of life, you know, that can be a scary time for anyone, but if you have specific challenges and your family's been there, the high school has been there, and then you're taking that next step, we want to make sure that we can do everything we can to make that transition as easy as possible for young people so that they can continue to succeed.
Who's working there, Jennifer?
At the ADRC, we have information and assistance specialists, and those are workers who have a 4-year degree in a health or human services related field, and they've had at least a year experience working with one of the target populations, so with elders or people with disabilities. And we've really trained all the workers to be generalists, so no matter who you call and get on the phone, they are going to be able to answer your question no matter what you're calling about. You're not going to be transferred to someone who specializes. They're all going to be able to help you. And
again, this is on Sherman Avenue on the north side in the shopping mall, did you say, or
the
strip mall?
North Side Town Plaza.
North Side Town Plaza. Office hours 7:45 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. It's 2865 North Sherman Avenue. And the website is daneadrc.org. Thanks, Jennifer, for taking the time to do this.
Thank you.
And Joe, if you'll come back, we're going to talk climate change.
I'll do that
in just a minute. County Executive Parisi is back with me, and we're going to change focus here a little bit to climate change because I thought it was a pretty significant move that a few weeks ago you appointed a task force to look at climate change. And you know, the awareness of it is growing, no question, but at this level, at the county government level, is what seemed kind of intriguing to me. So explain what's going on here.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, the data supports the fact that climate change is real. Our climate is changing. Interestingly enough, some of what we've seen the last couple of years is what it's projected to be more like by mid-century. What we've experienced this spring, wetter springs, more 2- and 3-inch rain events, followed by longer, hotter summers. By mid-century, summers with temperatures between 4 and 9 degrees warmer. So many more of above 90-degree days in the summer. Now, one of the many functions of county government is emergency management.
And I guess we should just make clear that you know, you can think of any one of those days. Well, we've all had one of those days, but the fact is that there's a cumulative effect now that influences things over which county government has control.
Absolutely.
Lakes,
absolutely.
zoo, I mean, all this
transportation,
yeah.
Just basic public safety and public protection. If you recall this winter when we had the 2-day blizzard, I spent most of those two days in the county's emergency operations center because we have an emergency operations center and we coordinate responses. So in light of the data showing the changes that we're going to be experiencing, I felt it was important that, first of all, in county government, we take a look inside and see how are we prepared? Are we prepared for the right types of severe weather emergencies that are going to become more common? So as part of an overall assessment, I've appointed what we're calling a climate change action task force, which is a number of my department heads in county government coming together to become informed. We held our first meeting to become informed about the changes in weather that are anticipated, and then for them to take a look at our operations now and assess vulnerabilities, be it in the highway department with roads, be it with our work that we do with ag and protecting the lakes, and assess where we might be doing okay, but assess where we might have some vulnerabilities, and then come together and make a report for me that will come to me by the end of the summer with an analysis and a suggestion of, are there some places we need to change what we're doing, reallocate some resources in light of what we expect weather events to look like in the near future. So
this isn't necessarily a rapid response kind of group yet. That could be one of the recommendations, but their task is simply to do this analysis and report back.
Yeah, make recommendations to me that can inform decisions I make going forward. And so that's part one. There's how do we prepare to be ready for these weather emergencies when they do happen. And the second part will be for us to make an assessment of all of the good work we've done so far in county government to reduce greenhouse gases and conserve energy, and to see where we're at with that, and to take a look at, okay, what's next? What more can we do to live by example and to reduce our carbon footprint as much as possible?
What's your sense, knowing what you know of the landscape? How do you think we're doing, and where do you think the next steps are that would be most valuable?
For part one or part two? For
the greenhouse, for how the county is managing its resources and its carbon footprint.
I think we'll continue to look at energy efficiency. There's always room to grow there, be it lighting, insulation, etc. I've embarked on a pretty aggressive solar power path, and we'll continue down that road. For example, we're building a new building out at the airport, and it is going to be have solar arrays on it, and it will be the largest municipally owned solar array in the state of Wisconsin. And we're going to continue being as aggressive as possible with solar. The really neat thing that's going on is going on at our landfill. Where environmentally it's doing so many great things all at once. What we do there is we take the methane gas that's generated from the landfill and we pipe it to two places, a generator that generates electricity from that waste gas. It's biomethane gas, and the county taxpayers receive about $2.5 million a year for that electricity that we sell back to MG&E. Our latest move has been to install a device that compresses that natural gas into a gas that we can use to fuel our vehicles. And we're in the process of converting the entire county fleet, including snowplows, to run on CNG. So we're taking methane gas, which is a very potent greenhouse gas, much more potent than CO2, and we're using it, we're converting it and burning it as fuel, thus alleviating the greenhouse gas piece of it and saving taxpayers dollars, because now it costs about a quarter of what gas costs to do it that way, and dealing with what for some people is a waste problem, turning it into energy and using it to power electricity and power our automobiles.
Any chance that this task force is going to get into really very difficult conversations about what county policies might be encouraging car use, driving instead of walkability, those kinds of land use issues that are really, fundamentally at the heart of what probably we're going to have to address.
Yeah, I think that we will get there eventually. There are many different levels. There's the practical, okay, we'll make bio-CNG and run vehicles on it. We'll generate power. We'll use, another thing we're doing at the landfills, we're taking the waste heat from our electric generators. We're going to use that to heat a new building we're building out there. But yeah, I mean, it's really important for us to look at how every decision we make, especially land use decisions, impact our use of fossil fuels, how far we're going to drive, when's the next time we're going to have to widen a highway. We have to keep in mind all of those impacts, even though, you know, when you're doing a little development here and a little development here, it might not seem like much. But when you add it all together, particularly in a county that's growing as fast as ours, it really makes a difference. So we have to be cognizant of that.
Can Dane County do anything to provide incentives to municipalities outside of the city of Madison to do more green efficiency with their buildings that aren't necessarily county owned?
Sure.
But, you know, that have a relationship to county government.
Sure. I think the best thing one can do is lead by example. You know, for example, we replaced lights out at the Alliant Energy Center. We're replacing lights in one of our parking garages with LED lights. We are going to save tens of thousands of dollars annually between both of those projects. And when you start showing people that, you know, next time it's time to change your lights, or hey, for a small upfront investment, you're going to get paid back in 3 to 5 years, and then after that you're going to be saving $40,000 a year. That's a very powerful incentive.
Yeah.
Show that it can work, because energy efficiency and renewables can work to save people dollars.
Do you have any sense how other counties around the country are doing this, Joe? Are you in conversations with other county executives about this?
You know, you see it in different places, particularly airports, which is interesting because a lot of times they have a lot of land. We really are a leader, though, particularly, you know, for example, what we're doing at our landfill, generating electricity and creating CNG to fuel our vehicles. So again, not only, you know, when we're talking about being an example for other local municipalities around here, I think we can be an example for the rest of the country, because to my knowledge there's no one else at this time who's undertaking this comprehensive effort that we are to look at preparedness, other than some of the coastal communities who are dealing with hurricanes, a comprehensive look at, okay, how are things going to change as the weather changes.
Yeah. And what kind of a timeline did you give this group?
By the end of the summer, because, you know, I don't want this to be one of those reports that, you know, a task force puts together and it sits on a shelf somewhere. I've asked for information I can use to inform policy making going ahead, and potentially inform what I do with my 2014 budget when I put that together.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Joe, thanks very much for taking the time to talk about both of these topics.
My pleasure.
And we're going to come back and wrap up For the Record right after this. One last look at the website for the Aging and Disability Resource Center, Dane, adrc.org. My thanks to Joe Parisi and Jennifer Fisher for being here this morning. Next week, Mark Pocan will join us for his first visit since being elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. That's next Sunday. We'll see you then.